What's going on, guys? Marshall Breakdowns here. Khamzat Chimaev is a newly signed UFC welterweight who's absolutely blowing up in popularity, mostly because of his heavy wrestling style, which people are comparing to Khabib. It's even earned him the nickname Khabib 2.0, and while I don't think Khabib 2.0 is a very good way to describe him, I'm not going to pass up on an opportunity to analyze a very heavy wrestling-based fighter. So, buckle in, and today I'm going to be breaking down some of the key elements of Chimaev's powerful wrestling. So, the first thing we're going to check out are a couple of his takedowns. Now, the takedown Chimaev seems to favor the most is a low double leg. The low double is finished a bit differently than the traditional double leg, in that instead of coming up and lifting the opponent, you finish by either cutting an angle or snaking the opponent's calves, taking their base, and driving them straight back. Watch how in this clip, Chimaev sets up Phillips with the rear body kick. Then, instead of switching back to orthodox, Chimaev lands in southpaw, where he's able to penetrate on the same leg he's used to penetrating on from his wrestling background. Now, we've gone over this in previous videos, but also notice the timing. As John's throwing his rear hand, he's also setting his weight on his lead foot. Chimaev's able to capitalize not only on this, but by penetrating from where his kicking foot landed. He's on an angle that prevents Phillips from bumping him with his lead hip, which would stop the momentum of the double leg. Here's another double leg where Chimaev is met with resistance. Phillips drops his hips and slides backwards to prevent Chimaev from driving up and in. Chimaev is able to adjust though by cutting the corner and circling Phillips down to the mat. Now, notice that as soon as it hits the mat, he's looking for wrist control. He climbs up Phillips' body and secures the bottom wrist to trap him. So wrist control is a huge part of Chimaev's top game, and I'm going to make future videos going into more detail on some of the techniques that he and Khabib both use. For now though, I'm going to give you a quick overview and a few examples of just how powerful this stuff is. Here's a very strong example of what good wrist control paired with good leg riding can do. Here, Chimaev has Phillips' far wrist trapped, as well as his near side leg. Rather than a typical leg ride though, he's taken a Merkle position on the leg, and that prevents Phillips from a knee slide escape that would defend a typical hooked ankle, even with the far wrist trapped. Because Phillips' right arm is controlled and he can't knee slide with his legs, Chimaev can drive him forward toward the trapped arm, leaving him unable to base up and wall walk to recover to a standing position. Here's a different example where Chimaev has Phillips' far wrist trapped. Notice how his hips are glued to Phillips' hips. The position of his legs serve as a wedge to control the movement of Phillips' hips. Because of this, he can't move backwards or away from the cage. His only option is to get his weight back onto his hips to unload Chimaev's hips from his. This, however, opens him up to a choke attempt, which Chimaev almost gets. Here's one last example of Chimaev using, this time, the near side wrist to break Phillips down and then secure the far wrist while he tries to base back up. This is something you'll see a lot with wrestlers who are good on top. Breaking the opponent down leads to them basing up. Basing up often opens them up. So, let's go over a couple of the key takeaways. First, we saw how Chimaev used his kick to switch stances and allow him to penetrate deep on the double. Next, we saw Chimaev's use of angles to finish the double leg when met with a sprawl. And lastly, we saw how Chimaev uses wrist traps and control to keep his opponent stuck by the fence so he can unload with brutal ground and pound. That's all for this video, guys. You know, I was watching the fights tonight thinking, alright, cool. I'm going to get some new footage to use to make a video on Khamzat Chimaev, and I'll be damned if he didn't knock him out in 17 seconds. So, that kind of went down the drain. Stay tuned though, in the future I'll have more videos detailing the techniques both Khamzat and Khabib use on their ground game, as well as continuing the slams and throws series. If you like this video, guys, be sure to subscribe, and as always, thanks for watching and good luck training.